Hi, this is Rahul Roye, an independent filmmaker and screenwriter from India, and today I'll be talking about the LGBTQ narrative and notions in India and beyond with none other than Sridhar Rangayan, Rohan Kanawade, and Vaibhav Hatkar. So this is first year for our festival, Hummingbird International Film Festival, and it's such a relief that post-COVID they're organizing a physical festival in Jadavpur University from 19th to 21st. So yeah, my first question, before questioning you, let me tell you how much I adore your body of work, Sridhar. You are such an inspiration for all of us who want to contribute into queer cinema or in any form of cinema, I guess, because you started off Kashish when most of the nation had no clue about what it is. So my first question to you is like, when you started Kashish, uh, I mean, how much has the situation changed since then? You'll have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
So basically, we started Kashish in 2010, and we've been doing it for the last 12 years, physically for 10 years and 2 years online per se. When we started Kashish, it was a simple idea that we want to put out queer narratives into the mainstream space. There have been film festivals in the past, also LGBTQ film festivals, which were held in colleges and cultural institutions. But what we wanted to do, because we were emboldened by the 2019 Delhi High Court verdict, which read down Section 377. So in 2010, after Section 377 was read down, then we were emboldened to hold a film festival in the mainstream theater. The idea was to kind of mainstream LGBTQ narratives. So it was held in a small PVR cinema, 125-seater, and it was like a houseful show. Every show was like crazy. So from then onwards to Liberty Cinema, which was like 1,400 seats. It's been an interesting journey for us to discover not just LGBTQ films from across the world, but basically discover Indian LGBTQ films every year, you know. So what was interesting was like the first year we just had, I think, 22 Indian LGBTQ films which were submitted to us, and we programmed all of them. I mean, because it was a discovery that there were actually so many LGBTQ films being made over the years. And after that, like over the last, I think 5-6 years, we've been getting 60 Indian LGBTQ films every year, 60. Can you believe so many films are being made? But unfortunately, there's no space for these films to be seen, you know? And Kashish basically programs around 30 of them. Some of them fall off because of the lack of quality. I mean, you need to have definitely a quality for your films per se. Otherwise, it'll not be seen by anybody. So we screen around 30 to 35 Indian LGBTQ films. So that's been a huge discovery that like there's so many films. And of course, these are from the submissions. I'm sure there are 20 more which are not being submitted to Kashish yet, you know. So I would say that safely, I would say almost 75 to 80 Indian LGBTQ films are being made every year, apart from the ones which are just sometimes shot on the mobile and put out on the phone, you know. And what has been interesting is also that like the stories have changed a lot. You know, I mean, that's the main thing we're going to talk when we go further with Rohan and Vaibhav, two brilliant filmmakers who have shown their films at Kashish. So the narratives have changed from the whole angst of who am I, what is this identity, to basically more layered narratives about partnerships, about acceptance, about workplace discrimination, and also basically about the shift from the urban to the rural. I mean, Rohan's film Farusha is set in the rural landscape. So these are very interesting things. And also just going away from the mainstream narratives of gay and lesbian only. I mean, most of the films which we have seen in the past, which were made, of course, they're stereotypical, they made fun of LGBTQ characters, but they're basically more of gay and lesbian or transgender characters. You know? Nowadays, we see more nuanced performances about lesbian, trans men, bisexual women, you know, and queer, asexual, films on asexuality. These are discoveries for Kashish as we went along. The reason we started Kashish was I'm myself being a filmmaker. I've traveled to a lot of film festivals with my own films, you know, and we felt at that point of time there was no mainstream space. And also it's like a community building exercise where we can bring the LGBTQ community and the non-LGBTQ community together in a space where they're free from any anxiety, free from any discrimination. It's a safe space, you know, where they can intermingle with each other, exchange ideas. And it's been an eye-opener for the non-LGBTQ person. Of course, for the LGBTQ people, it's been a celebration. celebrating cinema, celebrating togetherness. But apart from that, I think for the non-LGBTQ participants, it's been an eye-opener about LGBTQ lives, not just watching Indian films, but films from across the world. So as I said, the narratives have changed, and I'm happy about that. What we need now is basically how do we take these films across more to the mainstream space, apart from just film festival space.
Okay, so thank you for answering. Now, my next question is to Rohan. I loved you for Usha, and it's magnificent. But my question to you is like, we don't call Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam a heteronormative film, but when you see people subscribing the term LGBTQ film to your short film, do you think it limits its spectrum or substantiates the cause?
Thank you, Rahul, for that question. And actually, one of the reasons, or not reasons, one of the thoughts when I was writing for Usha was that I wanted that this film needs to be seen by a wider audience. And the other notion was also that I don't want this film to have that any queer or politics of around sexuality or drama around sexuality, because it's very easy for any filmmaker to create a lot of drama when you have this situation where there's a single mother and in rural area or illiterate, and now she is discovering her sexuality, and I just didn't want to do any of that stuff in my film. So these were the things I was thinking, that this needs to be seen by larger audience, and I don't want my character to, a victim, or what we were thinking, that am I the only one in this world, and that conflicts. I didn't want that, because one of the things was, when I was a kid, I never had those thoughts. Am I the only one in this? I was rather enjoying. So I wanted to bring that in the film, and thankfully, I mean, that was our goal, and thankfully, when we had our first screening in Mumbai, there were a lot of heterosexual audience also, and even male audiences. They came to me and they said that thank you for not making this character victim, and it's almost like a celebration of sexuality, and thank you for doing that. So see, there will be audience who will categorize your film, and there is audience who don't do that, and they just look at these movies as just human emotions. Because not recently, a few years back, one of my friend, he was talking to his old relative, about the queer films that he makes and all, and that old relative, he said that, why are you calling queer film? Just say it's a romance film of two individuals. Why are you saying it's queer all the time? I don't like it. Just say it in film. It's a film about these two people. It's enough. You don't have to. So perception is changing, but it's slow. And there are people who will always categorize your film, because there are some festivals who do that. They categorize. You have to tick box. There are this tick box, and then there is queer. So you have to tick box all those things. So even festival do that. Some of the festivals. But yeah, the idea is always that you just want to depict emotions of human beings, and I mean, that's what I think filmmakers try to do. But yeah, I mean, I think, but I think it's as it's slowly changing. People are accepting wider storytelling, and I think that will slowly change. So I right now I don't really think about that it will be categorized, because sometimes the way you tell your stories also depends on it. So that was one of the reasons that we didn't. I that was unconscious. That happened unconsciously, that I didn't use queer or gay or lesbian word in my film anywhere, because that's when I thought, without saying anything, people should connect, and that is when it will be like any other love story or any other romance or any other exploration. So that was my idea.
So my next question is to Vaibhav. Can you please tell us about a little about Anahatam media? I mean, do you give preference to narratives coming from LGBTQ scripts, or do you even explore other themes as well?
Yeah, sure. So to start with, when I decided to start a production house, I wasn't really sure about what I should be doing and how I should be taking it ahead. So when I initiated it, so basically I consider film as a film, script is a script, story is a story. I don't categorize it. It doesn't matter. It's a video. It can be a small advertisement. It can be a 2 hour, 3 hour film, or it can be like a 10 hours web series. It is whatever it is. It's your story, and you should feel free to say your story. So I am not restricting or categorizing anything in terms of I want to only do this, I want to only do that. So as an Anahatam media, we want to focus more LGBT based content because I feel we need to create more awareness in terms of people and how we can do it. It's a best medium is a film, because films are a medium where a person can get connected like a visually as well as it can deliver a lot of emotions as well as a lot of things it can deliver. So we are doing a lot of projects for LGBT based I mean, if I can say, we are doing a lot of projects for LGBT based NGOs like Humsafar Trust. We are doing a lot of projects for Impulse. So along with that, we are also doing a lot of projects for what we can call the mainstream. Like we have done quite a projects for Google. We have done quite a project for Generation India. So we are not restricting ourselves anywhere where we want to label as a something. We want to label as this is a production house who deliver a good content or a quality content. This is how I look into when I say that this is a production house I'm running. So my business partner, she is a straight woman and I am a gay man. So we both have 50% partnership. I can say 50% of LGBTQ and 50% of straight partnership. So yeah, this is how I see as it should be a good quality content, irrespective of you can call it gay, lesbian, transgender, or any labels we want to or you want to put it on it. This is how I see it, and this is how I'm seeing it to grow. But yeah, definitely I would look forward to have at least one mainstream LGBT theme web series coming out from my production now, so that definitely, Rohan, I'll try to put more drama as web series need some drama, depend on the quality where we are putting it up. So yeah, this is how I can portray.
If I can respond before you move ahead to Rohan's what you mentioned, I just have some other thoughts on that. So what happens is when you make a film which is focused on gay or lesbian characters, it automatically gets tagged as an LGBTQ film, whether you like it or not, And so you're not resisting it. Rohan is not resisting it. Vaibhav is not resisting it. But there's some filmmakers who resist this particular tag. And that for me is problematic, because if you're making a film with gay or lesbian characters as your center characters, okay, if the fringe characters, I understand that. And if you don't want it to be tagged as that, and one of the reasons we basically tag these films basically is because there's so much invisibility around LGBTQ stories. So for us to create a pool or a resource of films, so that's the reason basically most of us, basically I am one of those person who like to tag, but I don't like the tag of L tick mark, Q tick mark, G tick mark. So we need to find a better word instead of LGBTQ. It's too far, it's too long, So we need to, I think people started using queer. I mean, Kashish Mumbai International Queer Film Festival, when we used the word queer then in 2010, it denoted the spectrum of all the sexualities. But now queer has gained a different notion by itself. So it's not an umbrella term anymore, So we need to definitely find, because for a lot of non-LGBTQ person, it's too confusing. What is this LGBTQIA plus, etc.? So we need to come up with a term which is more easy for the general audiences to basically understand. But I understand that. We all want to run away from our tags. Even when I made Evening Shadows, it was supposed to be a mainstream film. But again, I never shied away from calling it a gay film, though I didn't want to call it. It's about more about the mother than the son. Okay, so technically it's not a gay film. But then if somebody ascribes it as a gay film, I would just take that. That's what I would say.
Yeah, of course.
I would like to add on one more thing in this, Sridhar. So So when people somewhere, I feel when they are afraid to tag their film as a LGBTQ or any queer related film, there may be a reason. Like yesterday only this incident had happened at my home. My mom was sitting on Netflix exploring some films through her, and she literally came across the Evening Shadows thumbnail. And she's like, which is this film? So I told her, this is a film, you remember I won award from Kashish and all. So I told her, this is LGBTQ based film. So she just said, okay. And then she moved on a next thumbnail. But while before, like 6 months before, she was randomly scrolling through some films and she played one film. Apparently that film was based on LGBTQ drama only, but she watched that film completely and she did not have any hesitant to watch that film because she was not aware about the content and everything. So maybe that may be the one of the reason that when somebody highlighting it's something like we are making it different, or this is something different. So whether I should be watching it, maybe this is not my cup of tea, or main dekh ke kya karu. Maybe that is a reason that people don't want them to highlight or tag or categorize themselves that as like this is a LGBTQ or queer based film. This is just based on what I've seen right now in front of me. Maybe there are 100 other reasons also, but yeah, this is what the recent experience or the scenario had happened with me.
Continuation to Vaibhav's answer, actually, I was programming for a North Indian LGBTQ film festival last year, and they categorically told me not to include any film that is based on coming out or that is based on something that has already been a lot of times shown on celluloid. So, but I think my question to Sridhar is like, but don't you think we must keep on talking about these much talked about themes also in order to garner awareness for mainstream audience?
See, the thing is, when we say mainstream audiences, who are they? We need to be more specific because now the audience base has shifted so dramatically from a theater-going audience to basically people are going to be watching. Earlier, we used to be very clear. Okay, there's television audience, there was theatrical audience. So you made a different kind of programming for television audiences. So even if you had basically an LGBTQ team in a television show like Maryada, or one of these couple of series, they kind of really didn't spell it out in the because television is supposed to be for family audiences, Whereas when you go to theatrical audiences, basically again you have when the censor board certifies your film, it immediately certifies homosexuality as an adult certification. Anything to do with homosexuality, even if there's no intimacy at all, even if they're just talking to each other, if it's if they're two gay men talking, it'll be termed as an adult film, which is ridiculous, but that needs to change. But so then what happens? Only certain audiences went to these films, and these films basically were released only in niche theaters, niche cities, metro cities, niche theaters. So the audiences were very limited. So now with the web series coming up, the OTT platforms proliferating, there's been a combination and I would say amalgamation of all these different. So whether it's a television drama or a feature film, which is A certified, U certified, everything has come together on the OTT. So there's no demarcation. And we are really right now very confused as to who are the audiences for our films or for the web series, So I think web series basically gives a lot more flexibility for the filmmaker to explore. And also because it's a wider narrative, you run a story over 16 episodes and you can bring in more characters. So you can still make a LGBTQ film, but make it look non-LGBTQ on a web series, because it's got a broader story outline. It need not be focused and told. So that's what I feel. So coming back to your question, I would say that like when we audiences, we need to be every person when they make a film, whether they like to say it or not, they usually have an audience. Like Rohan said, he wants to have an audience which is non-LGBTQ mainstream audiences, what we could call. But like when I made Evening Shadows, I was very specific that it has to be focused on Indian audiences and basically, of course, also to the mainstream audiences. But again, when I say mainstream, first is it has to appeal. First of all, since it's a gay film, it has to appeal to the gay audiences. Only if it's certified okay by them, then it can go out to the wider audiences. That's the way I felt, but it was surprisingly received well with the non-Indian audiences. That was for me a surprise. So it won 24 awards internationally. It didn't win any award in India. And for me, that was a surprise. We made this film only for an Indian audience. And here this film is going across to the entire world. Even Rohan has the same experience. His film has been resonating with audiences across the world, though I made it only for an Indian audience. So I would say the audience is more, more evolved right now from, 20 years before, where they would watch a specific kind of program. Nowadays, the audience would watch any program and come to their own decision, whether they like the program or not, whether they want to continue. I mean, if Vaibhav's mother had watched maybe 10 minutes of the film, maybe she would have continued to watch, if there was no categorization. So then if the subject matter doesn't appeal to them, they switch off to the next program. So I really think that we need to really look at, also when we say mainstream audiences, LGBTQ audiences are part of the mainstream audiences. So let's not forget we are 10% of them, even if we're a minority, but we are at least 10% of the mainstream population.
So with mainstream audience, I actually tried to mean audience of popular cinema. I mean, cinema is, of course, like a language that transcribes to or resonates to the most of the mainstream or whatever offbeat audience. But my question is I mean, Sridhar, you have answered so well, but still I'd like to ask Rohan and Vaibhav the same question. Don't you think we still, I mean, see, of course, if we see 10 years back, then the awareness were way less than it is today. But don't you think we still need to talk about this kind of serious issues like coming out or dressing up? And also simultaneously, maybe, watch or make films like Rohan has made with something that's not usually seen in an LGBTQ film or in an LGBTQ narrative. So my question to Rohan is, I mean, if you think that your film has the potential to make some awareness to a popular audience, then don't you think that you should also, I mean, not you, I mean, anyone who really wants to work on LGBTQ or queer narratives, be making films that also addresses the facts, very primary facts maybe, but the fact that, okay, this is, if he likes a man and he's a man, then he's gay. I mean, I hope I can make sense. I'm making sense with my question, but they completely ruling out that section because it's already been there. So see, anyway, these festivals, queer film festivals, the audience already know about everything. So there is nothing you are making them added there. You're giving away anything, imparting any knowledge to them. So they already know what's happening. So in terms of making sense and spreading awareness, don't you think we should keep on making films that also talks about this very primary, very primary things about being a queer person or the struggles a queer person go through?
Yeah, I mean, I personally think that, I mean, filmmakers will make whatever they want to make. So any filmmaker has a good coming out story, he or she or they, anyone, just make them. And I think even if this festival is telling you that you should not include this kind the coming out stories, but if coming out story is told differently or well made, why not? Why you should not select it? So that should be that should be the criteria, than just not select. And I mean, yeah, I mean, see, I mean, most of the time, I think queer filmmakers, most of the queer films are made by queer filmmakers, and they come up with some of their own experiences. So sometimes I think their own personal experiences make stories different in any ways, because those are not shared experiences. It's their own personality or their own life or their own emotions are poured into it. So many times these films always look different than filmmakers who are non-queer, and they're just making someone else's story or written by someone else. So that's why they always feel different. So I think we should make coming out stories also, but I think that it should be different, as because sometimes we know about these movements, and because we have experience in our houses, some people have experienced in a good way, some people must have experienced in a bad way also. But as long as they feel genuine and organic. It should not be I want to make a coming out story, but as long as it feels organic, natural, I think that film should be okay, or anyone then should make a film about it. Like, this is the way I said that, when I was a kid, I didn't feel that am I the only one. The same way when I came out, it was just a 30-second affair, and my dad was like, okay, if you know about yourself, it's great. It was just that, and I sometimes I feel that filmmakers should bring that kind of a wisdom in the film. That we sometimes just don't see. We 99% films, and we see all this conflicts, and then we don't see some of the sometimes like I think most of my friends are from this lower middle class families, and they just got acceptance without any problems. And sometimes, or not sometimes, many times we don't see that representation, because that is when we normalize this notions of queer, or you're different, and that's when we start normalizing things in our storytelling. That's when I think they will be seen by what you're calling it mainstream, is I call it like a larger audience. That's when we normalize that's when we are not setting these stories apart from these other stories. And I think that's more important. And so even if it's a coming out story, I think it's compelling and organic and it looks genuine. I think it's fine. I mean, we should make it.
Vaibhav, your take on the same question.
Yeah. So what I would like to say about this, as earlier I told you, from my point of view, film is a film. So if Bollywood can make 100 other love stories, ek ke piche ek, then the story is good. I agree with Rohan's point that if the story is good, if it's it's not a very cliche, and even if it's cliche, and if you want to tell it from your bottom of your heart, and you just want, so the independent filmmakers are making films for themselves also. And if somebody want to tell a story in certain way, then we are no one to judge them, like how they should be making the film. It should be good, bad, ugly. It doesn't matter. If they are enjoying their process, and if they're enjoying to project the story, what they want to say, then they should be doing it. Then the question comes whether people will watch that story or not, because they are making the film for themselves first. And then not all of them are making for the masses. Of course, they want to watch their film by many people. They want it to be seen. But then the highly important, what I feel, is the self-satisfaction of your own product. If it is not there, then if you don't like your own film, why other people will like that? And people are always there to criticize. It's very simple for audience to say, "Kya bakwas film tha?" They have no idea. Even a bakwas film needs the same efforts which a good films need, maybe a little bit here and there. So it doesn't matter what film you are making. You should be keep making films. It doesn't matter acceptance story, non-acceptance story. Yeah, I'll prefer not to show any negative impacts where people are doing suicides or something like that, because that is something will give a wrong message, unless it is a biopic where you are just portraying a story. And maybe even there you can try to say something at the end, how it could have been when different, agar koi situation different hota to how a person could have been alive, something like that. But no, the way you want to tell a story, you should tell the story. You should not stopping or making your films. So it doesn't matter what topic you pick up. It can be a mainstream, as in you want to make your protagonist as a gay, you want your protagonist as a lesbian, you want to keep him as a sidekick. I have to see Eternals movie from Marvels, but they have projected a gay kissing scene on screen for the first time. So I'm really curious to go and watch it in theater. So I think in India, it will take a little more time. But yeah, our audiences will come there, and we are there to make them to come there. A lot of web series are coming up with side plots where the LGBTQ characters are there. And like what I have seen throughout an international content, it began like that. Even if I can say some of the DC, like recently the Supergirl season, they had their finale of the entire series. the finale was ended with a very nice, huge lesbian wedding. This is a really nice take on that. They have a many lesbian superheroes, like they have projecting a Batwoman as a lesbian superhero. Then they are portraying lot of other characters who are lesbian and gays in their superhero films and series. So I never find any other my I can say the straight friends or straight societals people whoever जिनके साथ मैं interact करता हूँ, that they are mocking about I don't want to see this web series because this protagonist is not straight. So it is coming there. It's only what happened when we tag it as a LGBTQ film. As I told you earlier, it is little difficult to digest because now we are telling them this is a medicine, you have to take it. If you straight away serve them, they might eat it. So coming out story, love story, doesn't matter. Until unless the film is good, script is good and nicely made, and it's bare sustainable to watch until the end, you should keep making it.
And if I just add to what most of the people have said, basically what happens is like a filmmaker is making films which are based on his own perception of himself and the society around him. You know, now like who wants to make a film on Sati anymore? Sati is over now. You know, so same way when the coming out is over, coming out stories will stop. You know, but still even now metro cities coming out is almost over. People are very normal about their coming out. When we go to small towns, villages or rural areas, there's angst about coming out. So till that thing gets normalized, the coming out gets normalized, we'll continue to see these stories for sure. I think we need to work towards, of course, apart from the films, we need to work with the communities to basically build more acceptance around coming out. So I just want to put that bit in.
So my question to Balaji would be like, do you think that social media audience have also started being receptive about contents comprising non-conforming fashion?
I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, of course I can. I mean, do you think that now social media audience have also started being receptive about contents comprising non-conforming fashion?
I think yes, but when it comes to my scenario, of course, I've seen, still I see, so many homophobic comments, especially with regards to gender fluidity. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I'm assuming. I'm kind of answering accordingly. So, so I think few days back also, I want to share this that on my Insta, specifically on my Insta, then I'll go to other platforms. So I, whenever I put any content story regarding gender fluidity, that's what I put. It's not gender fluidity. I put things which I like, I mean, and then someone commented saying half biryani, good meetha and, chakka, and these are the terms, of course, I've been hearing. And someone said, you are half biryani. And, so all these years, I have learned one thing is that, the more you keep quiet, the more these people are going to bully you and they will take your silence for granted. So I kind of, then over these years thought like, why not to answer in my own way? So as I was telling before also, if someone calls me meetha, I call them your kadwa, So these are the, I mean, to be honest, it's a never-ending struggle for us, like, and this new concept gender fluidity coming in and kind of, there again people assuming that I'm a transgender. A lot of people say, okay, are you a transgender, and are you a sex worker? I mean, okay, fine, it's not bad being a sex worker, but all I'm saying is still there is a long way to go. Still, I see there's so much of homophobic comments coming in. People are still not getting that fact right, that what is gender fluidity. And of course, we need to clear that out to people, that gender fluidity is someone who expresses multiple genders. And specifically me being like, when I don't believe in the concept of gender, I've always been telling this, that for me, gender is not my genitals doesn't define my gender. My soul and my spirit defines my gender. So I wear whatever makes me happy. That's it. And I don't have to define, I don't have to justify, I don't owe any sort of justification to anyone as far as I'm happy. So yeah, I think when it comes to social media, still I see so many homophobic comments coming in, specifically with regards to gender fluidity. Yeah.
So my next question is to Sridhar. When you read a script or watch a film at Kashish's submission desk, what are the major elements in it that make you feel like collaborating or selecting the film?
Okay, I can't reveal all the processes at Kashish, but it's okay. I can answer some of it. So basically, the thing is like we have a team of 10 people who preview all the films. So it's not my decision or Sagar's decision. It's a preview team of 10 people. And these are people, some of them are from the LGBTQ community, but some are basically filmmakers, film buffs, writers. So it's a very composite kind of team which makes the selections. And what has happened is like over the years, the preview team members' ideas also have evolved as well as the audience's ideas have evolved. So initially, I remember like when we started Kashish, basically most of the times we used to basically play all the buff-bodied rom-com films because they're happy films. We want to create a happy atmosphere at Kashish, you know. So I would say like a lot of times, I think the earlier years, we played a lot of these rom-coms or love stories and stuff like that. But over the years, we also seen the audiences also are more looking for more nuanced portrayals. You know? They want to see world cinema. They want to see cultures, you know, through the LGBTQ films. So as Rohan and Vaibhav said, like these are LGBTQ films tagged, but basically they're good films per se. They're beyond tags, beyond these LGBTQ tags. They're great cinema, you know. So when you show these films on the big screen at Liberty Cinema, it should engage the audience. That's the main thing. So I would say we are looking at. We definitely are looking at the technical quality because the film has to be well made for it to be projected at a film festival and for it to travel a lot of. But I would say beyond the technical quality, what we look at is the soul of the content, which is the soul of the story. You know, what is the story trying to tell and how well the filmmaker has managed to translate the story to reach an audience. A filmmaker sometimes can basically make a film which could be very personal, okay? But if it cannot touch the audiences and evoke an emotion, for me, it's going to be a bit of a question mark at the film festival. As an individual, I might love that film. I might love this film as an individual, but like when it's being watched by 1,000 people, okay? So sometimes I would say we would look for, I would say, films which appeal to a larger audience, but definitely that does not preclude experimental films. We show a lot of experimental films, and we are really focused on short films. We love short films. Almost, I would say 70% of the content we show are short films because they are really very beautifully made. They don't have a baggage of distribution. A lot of times the bigger films, okay, basically are focused on distribution. They create characters which sometimes are glossed over. But in short films, you really see the real characters and they show reality and also the diversity of content. So that's what has been. And also like, I think over the last 5-6 years, we have been more focused on being more inclusive of the diversity of the LGBTQIA+ community. So if we have to weigh against a gay film and a film on intersex, both well made, I would go for the intersex person if the slots are limited. Of course, we have enough slots, we show most of the films, but that would be the thing. We would want to have more diversity because, and also like, we are looking at diversity of the filmmakers too, sometimes, you know. Is the film being made by a non-binary person? Is the film being made by a queer person? Is the film being made by an asexual person? That would definitely weigh, you know, because sometimes I would say a filmmaker who belongs to a minority community within the minority may not have the resources to make a very technically good film, okay? But that particular film, suppose I'm just giving an example, of course, don't take me for this. If it's an intersex person who has no resources to any technical stuff, but is making a film on intersex issues, and it's so real because that person is basically conveying his or own ideas of life, you know? So we would program that despite it not being technically competent, you know, it might not play in the competition section, but definitely it will play in the festival. So that's been the story. And also we have been trying to kind of discover films from countries where we have not seen in India, Uruguay, Peru, Croatia, Russia, where we don't see those cultures. And usually homosexuality in many of these countries are basically more complicated than India. In India, actually, frankly, we are living in a very, still I would say, even today, we are living in a very democratic society. And homophobia is not violently, I mean, our society is not violently homophobic. They will troll, Balaji, you're right, they will troll on social media. But mostly, 90% of the time, they will not come and beat you up, no? But there are like places like Iran or something, If you come out as a gay man, you're immediately hanged. So that kind of a situation is not there. So we're still lucky. So we want to show these cultures where it's going to be more complicated to be LGBTQ, show their stories, show their struggles. But again, apart from showing struggles, we want to show the victories. We want to show the happy stories also. It's a mix of both the kind of films, and that's what makes it hopefully Kashish interesting. Yeah.
My next question is to Balaji. How much Bollywood or mainstream film industry has changed its treatment in terms of representing a queer character in it?
I would say, see, I don't have much this thing about this, but of course, one thing I would say that still there is a long way to go. But recently, when I saw this movie, Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan, and before that, I literally lost hopes, to be very honest, with movies like where they were stereotyping with the LGBTQ people and all that happening. So when this movie Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan actually came in, and where I saw that the parents, were not able to. I showed this to my parents also, and they really wanted to see this movie, and the film actually kind of moved like where I saw it was typical, like parents kind of trying to object and forcing the boy to marry a girl, and then again moving forward, of course, the boy coming in and kind of fighting with his boyfriend's family, and at the end. So the most beautiful point was like I want to. Of course, I want to talk the positive aspect too before I even get into the negative. This thing, like in the end, the father doesn't tell openly that okay, he has accepted, but of course, the way he kind of hugged his son, and of course Ayushman. So that kind of gave her this thing. Okay, fine, they have accepted, and but he doesn't want to tell it. He needs more time to kind of open up, which I could really very well connect with my parents or with my family also. Like my father never, he didn't accept me openly. Of course, now he does. My parents now they accept, but when he tried to know, when he kind of tried to know my identity, so he asked me so many questions that what do you go through, what have you gone through, because he saw my TED talk a lot of times to understand what I've gone through, and uske baad bhi, when I came out to him, he was not ready to accept. He was like, I might take some time to accept. And then of course my mom accepted explained my dad, and that's how he today he kind of if any of my family members come and they kind of try to get proposals for me, and they take stand. The way they take stand for me is like something commendable. So movies like Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan is something kind of gives me hope. But of course it was not it was not at all stereotypical, but it was kind of it moved me, I would say. I literally regained hopes with cinema, like showing like of course I want to talk about Evening Shadows. Thanks Sridhar for my mom actually saw that. She would have seen that movie 10 times, and she had so many questions that why father is not able to accept, and why she had so many questions in her mind. And I said, why don't you see this movie again? Why don't you find it out yourself? And that's how she did. And today and she fell in love with that movie. So we have movies like Evening Shadows and Shubh Mangal Zyada Savdhan, who's kind of giving hopes that okay, that queer culture is still kind of being portrayed in a positive way, and not being stereotyped extremely, so that we even stop watching, and we don't even lose hopes with movies, like and I specifically also I want to talk about art films. Like I again saw, I think 2 days back, there was this deodorant ad, where they said ye to लड़कियों का deodorant है, मर्द होके लड़कियों का deodorant लगाते हो. Then I just had a question in my mind. I'm sorry guys, I was like कि in fragrance also you have kind of developed, it's for guys, it's for girls. I don't understand. So that was my first question, that in ad itself, if they are going to portray such false this thing about the LGBTQI plus culture, then what's going to be the future? They should be the one who should. I have seen many like condom ads, like Durex, of course, they did an ad on LGBTQ. So there are certain brands who kind of opening up in terms of showing the queer culture in a positive way, but still there are certain ads, I believe it has become a tokenism sort of a thing. They're just showing for the heck of it and to gain publicity. That's what I feel, to be very honest over here. I don't see that they believe. If you my only thing is, if you believe in that cause, then only do it. If you believe in that cause, make a movie. If you believe in that cause, then only you make an ad. Just don't make an ad or make a film to garner popularity or anything. So it's not going to be of any use at the end of the day. So yeah, that's what my concern is. Yeah.
Anyone else who wants to contribute to this question?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Balaji is saying about basically some of the ads are really positive, but some of the ads are so regressive. The recent the face cream ad, which celebrated Karwa Chauth with 2 lesbians, which are so regressive. I mean, first of all, it was a regressive culture they were celebrating, and also fairness cream celebrating a lesbian love. So those things to stop. But also, like, I think a lot of companies during Pride Month basically put all the rainbow colors on all their logos, etc., everywhere. But they should walk the talk, which is missing. I mean, I would say by almost like I would say 80% of the companies do not walk the talk. They do not support queer events. They just make this ads per se or color their logo rainbow, but they do not really support LGBTQ causes, but they're supporting a transgender welfare home or anything for the matter, So very few companies really come forward to support, and they should do that per se. Apart from doing diversity and inclusion training in their own offices, if they're really committed, they should come out openly and support. I love the Axis Bank recently. They had this whole scheme where same-sex partners can go into a bank and open a joint account. For me, that's walking the talk. That's really saying that, yes, we just didn't do diversity and inclusion for the name of it, but we are really walking the talk and opening our own spaces for the LGBTQ community. So I really think it's important that companies really walk the talk, and not just during Pride Month, but throughout the year.
What I feel about it is, so all of this advertisement, what they are slowly coming, supporting LGBTQ community, or they are bringing up, they are making their logos colorful, or anything what they are, trying to showcase as a support. All of them are, assuming that they are just taking a small steps at a time, because they also have to understand how the supporting to any a different cause or social cause, how it will affect on their brand and their sales also. So I don't think so they will straight away open their arms widely in a one sweep. It is a process, I feel, and I can appreciate even a smallest step, even if they want to to start with even adding, like as you said, they are adding some colors during the Pride Month. So it will take a little more time. Many of the guys don't even know why they are changing their Facebook profile into the rainbow color. Why? Because everybody changed. They don't even know why they have changed. So from there to at least now they have idea or sense of understanding that yes, we are not alone, and the guy is not only meant for girl and girl is not only meant for guy. That somewhere the thought is started seeding in everybody's mind. And it will take time to grow properly and everybody to understand it. And I think we all are making a lot of, I can say we are the one who are, struggling to make input and understanding them how we are and what we are. So all we are together, what we are doing, it's somewhere contributing towards the people accepting all the facts and all the community-based whatever content, or even in real life. Like even I come out to a lot of my friends in a very I didn't portray it like oh, this is I am and I want to tell you something like this. So I'll just tell you a very quick incident in a minute time span. There was a woman joined in my office and we were sitting at a lunch. I offered her a tiffin. She said, no, thanks. I told her, I cooked this. Why don't you try? Then she had a one bite. She liked it. And then I told, so she asked me, oh, you cook very nice. I told her, yeah, when I used to stay with my boyfriend in Pune, I used to cook. So that's how I simply slip it up that this is what I am. I did not made it sound, I want to tell you something. I did not make it something different. And sooner the later, we will start doing that, how we will blend in. That will only make everybody to make. So if I am going to say, listen, I want to tell you something, I hope you will not break your friendship with me. This is, I'm opening up with a negative scenario. The similar conversation I had with my reporting manager when he come to know about my film and he asked me why you made this film. I told him because I am gay. Are you sure? It's like, I am 100% sure. Does it matter until unless you want to sleep with me or I want to sleep with you? Doesn't matter, right? That was my straightaway question to him. And he was completely agree to that. And he's like, Banda bolde ekdam. That was his comment. And then we started working as like nothing had happened. So this is what I feel. Sooner we start taking it as normal as it is, people will take it equally normal. Some people will take time because they are still, there are still a lot of people who are not ready to do intercaste marriages. So for them, we are expecting from them to accept their son will go and get married with a guy where they don't want to, if a Hindu family don't want a Muslim wife. So from there, if we're expecting, then I feel we are expecting from a wrong people. Because they are still crossing the border which we have crossed many years before. So brands and every people will slowly get into their, I'm happy that at least they are taking a baby steps. If not a big jump, but they are coming up somewhere there where they are started showing up support and a lot of other things. So hopefully we will see a mainstream many ads floating around where we might see a pink is a new blue.
But yeah, gradually it's changing for good. It was such an enriching session. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking out time out of your bustling schedule and join in for this session. Thank you, Sridhar. Thank you, Rohan. Thank you, Balaji and Vaibhav. And Hummingbird is coming on 19th, from 19th to 21st of this month. None of you are from Calcutta, but if you're in Calcutta and free around those dates, please go and watch films, because it's really a relief after so many months that you can go and watch your film to a theater. Thank you so much. Thank you again for taking out time and giving me the opportunity to have words with you. Thank you so much.